today we're going to do something a little bit different from what I've normally been posting, but in the future I'm going to be posting whatever because I decided I don't want to be put into a box. So I'm just going to upload things that are interesting to me. So today I'm doing an MCU tier list because I just got done, and by just got done I mean like probably a month ago, I got done with the MCU rewatch that I was doing. In that rewatch I even rewatched Wanda Vision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I did not rewatch Loki yet because it had basically just finished like a month prior to when I started. So that's the only thing that I've seen once on this list, I guess. Yeah, so I didn't really have anybody to talk about these things with. I wanted to make one of these just to get some of my thoughts out there. This is not my entire thoughts of every single movie and show that I'm going to be talking about. I have a lot of different opinions about things, but it's just like a summary, basically. Because if I talked about my full thoughts on every single thing, we'd be here for a very long time. So then let's just get into the tiers. I'm going to have to do some editing magic so that you guys can see it like it's a normal tier list video, but I'm doing it very analog. I have a piece of paper and a pen so I can write them down because my computer is not working. It hasn't been working for a very long time, and I'm hoping one day I'll turn it on and it's working again, but I'm scared, so I haven't done that yet. The categories that I have are right at the bottom. This isn't ranked, obviously, but it's just things that I haven't seen. And then the rest of the categories that I have A, B, C, and D, because I couldn't think of too many other category names. But that's fine. So, Avengers Assemble is more like an S, like a tippy top of the charts for me. Like on their own, I could watch them. Yeah, things that just really stand out to me about like doing something different. The B tier that I have is Superman 1978. This is the movie. I actually haven't seen it. I might watch it soon just to kind of know what I'm talking about a little bit more. But there's articles that I'll link down below about how Iron Man specifically, and then for the rest of the MCU, this film is very influential for them. It's like the blueprint for an origin story is how they describe it. And so this category on my tier list is going to be for things that pretty much follow the blueprint, are really solid stories. They fit in well. I probably would watch it every once in a while on its own, or I might watch it in preparation for something that's coming out and enjoy it. They're not like top of the top, but they're still good things that I like. C is the quote from Iron Man 2. It's me, I'm here, deal with it. This is just for things that are okay. They aren't wowing me necessarily. They're not really adding anything different. It doesn't really change things up too much. Just kind of middle of the road, very C status. And then lastly, we have died during the blip, which are things that I could go without. And maybe if I'm doing a full rewatch, I'll watch them, but I might play solitaire on my phone or something, I don't know. Let's just do the things I haven't seen first. I've never seen the Hulk movie. I probably will watch it soon, just because a lot of Hulk things are happening now. Ross has been in here for a while. Abomination was in Shang Chi, and might be in the future. She-Hulk is coming out. So I feel like I have to watch it. It used to be one of those things where people would tell me, oh, you don't have to watch it, it's fine, like, it doesn't feel like it's a part of it, but I think it'll be worth watching, so I think I will. And then What If is currently running. It's not finished, so I don't feel like I should rank it. My thoughts, though, are I am enjoying it. I know a lot of people, or some people, are not enjoying it. But, like, you have to, like, suspend a little disbelief and enjoy the story that's happening in front of you without knowing the exact beginning or the exact end sometimes, because sometimes they'll end on a cliffhanger, which I don't like. I wish they were a little bit more wrapped up. I feel like, yes, these stories are going to continue into season 2, but I think you can do it in a more subtle way where it's not just a cliffhanger. When is season 2 coming out? A year, 2 years from now? And that was why the Loki ending I did really like, but the Loki ending, it was kind of the same thing. I feel like you can set things up without it having to be a cliffhanger. And I think the MCU has proved that with all of the movies that they've done. I don't really like some of the writing choices. I do feel like it's paced strangely sometimes. Some episodes are better than others, but overall I am enjoying it. I'm really interested to see these last few episodes how it all wraps up and what all happens. And then maybe at the very end, they'll talk about the universe that we're familiar with or something. Like, I'm just interested to see how it all ties together. It's not something that's keeping me on the edge of my seat like the past shows have been, but it's not really for that because it is, like I said, it's an anthology. So, and I go in pretty much blind to each episode. I didn't really look at the episode list beforehand, so I don't really know like what's coming up and what's not. I think that's also kind of why I've been enjoying it, because I haven't really come in with any expectations. So yeah, those are my thoughts about that. But let's get into the rest of the list. Where should we start? Should we just do release order? I guess we should. Let's just do release order. Yeah, let's just get into Iron Man. And Iron Man, you have to put in Superman 78 because it is the blueprint, just like that movie allegedly is. Like I said, I haven't seen it. And yeah, I really like this one. And rewatching it on this rewatch that I just did, I still really like it. I don't want to say Robert Downey Jr. is at his best because I like how his character evolves, but I think he plays it very well in that movie. Obviously, like, the last half, or the last third, I guess, is not the strongest thing in the world. It does have issues, but I think it sets things up very well. And I feel like I'm not saying anything of substance, so let's just move on. Which one's next? Iron Man 2? Thor? Oh wait, Hulk is next, which I haven't seen. Then it's Thor, right? Thor, I am a Thor 1 apologist. I think it's really good. I think the world was not ready for a movie like that at the time. And I don't think it's perfect. I think the superhero part of this superhero movie is not really good, like the final battle and all of that. Not the greatest, but I think it sets up Asgard really well. I love like the family dynamics, and that story is really strong. I think if you look at it as Loki's origin, it makes it more interesting than looking at it as a pure Thor origin. And yeah, it's really not as bad as people make it out to be, in my opinion. I think it's pretty solid, except for the last half, which Iron Man is the exact same way. I think maybe audiences were not ready for the idea of Asgard and what that means, and is it aliens and all this other stuff. But this one was the first to get weird with it in that way. And obviously it did not do as well as, it did not do as good of a job as Guardians did. I think it does pretty good for what it does. Again, these are not my full thoughts, just a couple of things. But I'm not going to put Thor 1 in Avengers Assemble, because while I am a Thor apologist, it is not S tier. But yeah, I'm going to put it in Superman 78. I think most people would put it low, but I'm putting it rather high. Then we have Captain America, which I am a Captain America First Avenger hater. There are some things that I like about it. I think the beginning is really good. After he sees Red Skull for the first time and like it's blowing up and the bridge like collapses, you have to jump across. After that part when he rescues them all, then I think it kind of nosedives, quite literally at the end. But I do like the beginning. I like the visuals for like, it's not the World's Fair, but it's based off of the World's Fair. It looks cool. It looks very Silver Age comic-y to me if it were like a modern-ish movie. So I do like that stuff. And I like Steve and Peggy, because who doesn't? But yeah, I think as a movie, it's a snooze fest towards the end. Yeah. So for Captain America, people are gonna hate me for this. I think I'm gonna put it in Die During the Blip. I think I will, because I don't like it that much. I would say like it's me, I'm here, deal with it. But like I said, aside from like the first half, yes. The latter half, it's not for me personally. Then we have the first Avengers movie. Where would I put that? I really like Avengers 1. I think it's still pretty good. And it is kind of iconic. I don't know if it's Avengers Assemble iconic. Then I guess it can go in Superman 78. It is very iconic though, and it is what started the whole way that the MCU does team up movies. And I think it's really good. I think it's kind of long. That's a criticism I'll give it. It is kind of long. And then we have I forgot Iron Man 2 is technically in phase 1, right? Iron Man 2 is? So let's do Iron Man 2. I think I forgot that somewhere in here. Iron Man 2 I do enjoy. Not as much as the first one. I think I'm gonna put it in It's Me, I'm Here, Deal With It, which is where the line comes from, so it definitely fits. I do enjoy it. But I don't hate it at all. And I think the ending is stronger. I think the ending battle is the strongest out of the 3 Iron Man movies, for sure. I really don't like Iron Man 3. Spoiler alert, we'll talk about that next. And I really like Sam Rockwell in it. Whiplash is cool, he's okay. I like the scene with Black Widow and Happy trying to infiltrate that place. Yeah, I think it's just a very solid movie, especially compared to how much I hate Iron Man 3, which we'll get into now. So, Iron Man 3. There's a Screen Crush video recently where he really talked up Iron Man 3. He was like, it's not as bad as people make it out to be. And I can see why someone would think that. For me, the plot with his fears and anxiety and all of that, it didn't hit as hard as I wanted it to. When he's having his panic attacks, I do appreciate seeing that on the big screen. And obviously in the future movies, he still talks about like not being able to sleep and stuff like that. And not that he has to overcome anxiety, because do they really overcome anxiety? People who have it. Depends. I feel like I wish it was explored further, maybe, is what I'm thinking. And I hate the final battle. I hate Killian. I hate the fiery, explosive things that don't look interesting to me at all. And by things, I mean people, sorry. Veterans, injured veterans. All of the suits at the end, some people might think that's super cool, which I understand why people think that's cool. I just think it's lame. I'm sorry. And the girl who like is working for him but then tries to warn them but then is still working for them, very strange. Weird character motivations. It's like it was a twist just to have a twist. The Mandarin though, the fake Mandarin, really entertaining, and I enjoyed that. I know people at the time, especially comic book people, did not enjoy that. But I think they fixed what they did, especially after watching, maybe I shouldn't say that, but yeah, they basically, it pays off, I guess. You should watch Shang Chi if you haven't. Yeah, that was really the only enjoyable part, and if you didn't enjoy that part, like I said, a lot of people at the time did not enjoy that part, then this really doesn't really do anything for you. But anyway, died during the blip is where that's going. This is going to be difficult to edit because I'm just rambling. Then, we have, I don't remember the order of any of these in phase 2 at all. Captain America, Winter Soldier, which is amazing. I love this movie so much. Yeah, I really like it. I guess there's not much to say. What I did not like about this movie is I feel like it's not... People always complain about Captain America Civil War not being a Captain America movie. Winter Soldier, I look as Winter Soldier's like origin story and all of that more than a Captain America movie. Obviously their stories are intertwined, so it is a Captain America movie. I feel like they do a better job with Captain America's characterization in Infinity War, more so Endgame, than they did in the 2 Captain America movies, Winter Soldier and Civil War. And I think the first Captain America did pretty well with his character. It's hard to write a man out of time, but I feel like they did not really do it successfully in this movie and in Civil War. This one does it better than Civil War. It just feels like they don't do much character growth-wise or anything. It's just like he's kind of there until he can go back to his timeline and live the life that he wants to live. That being said, I'm gonna put it in Superman 78 again. Not again. As well as what I meant to say. Okay, so then Thor 2. Okay, I'm a Thor 1 apologist. I'm not a Thor 2 apologist. Seeing Endgame gives you somewhat of a new appreciation for Thor 2, just because it makes the mom's death matter more, I feel like, because we didn't really get to see much of their relationship besides the generic I am a mother and I love my sons. But honestly, that's about it. Yeah, it's one of those ones that I would not really watch. So I'm going to put that in Died During the Blip. What else is in Phase 2? Guardians of the Galaxy I really like. I like 2 more than I like 1. There are things that I like the story of 2 more than I like the story of 1. I like the final like fight, I guess, in the second one than the first one. Stylistically, I like the first one. The visuals are pretty cool in 2. I guess they're about tied with like the music and how it intertwines and everything. Both of them are pretty good. I like the humor of 1 more than I like the humor of 2 because I think the humor of 2 just took it up a notch a bit too far. Not everything has to be a joke. I think the first one did it better in that regard. So I think I'm gonna put Guardians in. It does something special. My personal enjoyment, which is something I'm also basing when I do all of this ranking, is the only reason why it's not going in Avengers Assemble. Because yes, it is really good, and it is the first MCU movie that I saw. But I'm still gonna put it in Superman 78. I don't know if this is the exact order. This is kind of based on my memory, but next we're gonna do, Avengers, what's it called? Ultron. That's what we're gonna do. I like this movie more than some other people do. I definitely think it's the least good Avengers movie, if we're counting, the first Avenger one, not Captain America, but the first Avengers movie, and Infinity War and Endgame. I mean, those are just so good that unfortunately Ultron does fall to being number 4 out of all of those, but I still don't think it's a terrible movie. I wish they would have cranked Ultron up to like 11. And again, I didn't see this movie at the time that it came out, so I didn't really see the trailers and everything. But apparently the trailers made it look a lot creepier than it actually was. I'm trying to think of other criticisms that I have. It's just kind of there. So I guess it's going to be It's Me, I'm Here, Deal With It. Because those are all the thoughts that I can muster right now. What's next? This, now I don't know the order at all. And it's kind of surprising me because I thought I did have it kind of somewhat memorized. So I guess let's do Ant-Man because I don't know where the first one falls. I really like both of the Ant-Man movies. They're just kind of there. There's things that I really like. I think I like the villain of Ant-Man 2 better than the first one for sure. But I like a lot of the first one a little bit more than the second one. But they are very equal to me. So I think I'm going to put Ant-Man in It's Me, I'm Here, Deal With It. And Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to go there too. They're very similar. It's more of the same stuff that you enjoyed from the first one. It does have a better villain for sure. But in terms of humor, what it brings, my personal enjoyment, I would say they're both kind of middle of the road, but I do enjoy them. And I'm excited to see the next one too. Now, let's do Civil War. Yeah, let's do Civil War. Civil War was the first Marvel movie that I saw that I was like, this is going to be a thing that I'm going to do, that I'm going to enjoy. Because like I said, I saw Guardians with friends. And then I was at this point in my life where I'm like, superhero movies, they're dumb. Like, I don't know why I just had this in my head. I've done the same thing with anime too. Like, anime's for nerds. I don't want to do that. Like, tongue-in-cheek, hyperbolic. But yeah, not really getting into it seriously until Civil War. I saw trailers for it. And the trailers looked so interesting. I was like, okay, this looks like, yes, it's a superhero movie, but it looks like it has something to it. And even though I didn't really know some of the stuff that was going on because there were things that I hadn't seen previously to that, I was like, okay, this is cool. Let me get into this. People at the time didn't really like it. They were like, well, this is supposed to be a Captain America movie. And I will agree with you. It wasn't really a Captain America movie. But people are always like, they should have just called it an Avengers movie. It's not an Avengers movie either. Maybe that's another hot take video that I can make and dive more into why I think that, but I think that's a criticism that people still give. That's so weird. It was what started, though, these greater crossovers that I think is going to be more of a thing coming up. We used to have this build up to an Avengers movie at the end of every phase. I think that model is out now. And I think we're just going to have these team up movies, like Spider-Man is having some of that stuff happening. Multiverse of Madness is going to have some of that stuff happening. It's going to be these things where you're like, Multiverse of Madness, this is not a Doctor Strange movie. This should be an Avengers movie. Like, no, it's a Doctor Strange movie, but there's more going on. I don't know. Not everything has to be specifically tied to a character, because when they did that in the past, in my opinion, like with Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, Thor 2, wasn't really that interesting. Winter Soldier is interesting because it does bring in some other elements. It not being called an Avengers movie doesn't bother me at all because it's not really an Avengers thing. It sort of was, because obviously the Avengers have to figure out if they want to sign this document or not, but we're not focusing on like an Avengers level threat. It's more about the Avengers being torn apart. Civil War, I'm gonna put in Avengers Assemble, and you can't do anything about it. What else? I guess we can talk about Doctor Strange, Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and then hopefully I'm not missing anything, because for some reason I feel like I am. Guardians 2, I didn't put on here yet. Okay, so Guardians 2, let's do that. I already kind of talked about my thoughts on that. But like the humor was a little bit much for me at times. I like humor that isn't there just for the sake of it, where it is, you know, kind of funny or whatever. Sorry if you hear the tornado sirens testing going on outside. It's very loud. I'm also gonna put it in Superman 78. So let's do Doctor Strange. I do like Doctor Strange. I liked it more when I saw it than I did upon rewatching it. I think it is good for an origin. And it's not just like a straight up origin like we've seen in the past. There's something a little bit different to it. I'm trying to think of criticisms that I have. Yeah, Doctor Strange, yeah, is enjoyable. I think I like his character and what has happened since then, even though we've only seen him in mostly Infinity War. And Endgame, he was in it, but not like barely in it. And we saw him a little bit in Ragnarok. So I think it's just like him as a character. I do like him as a character. Comic wise as well, but yeah, maybe that's why I'm hesitating to like put it up super high, because I feel like the first Doctor Strange isn't as interesting as Doctor Strange can be as a character, but it was a good origin into what that world is like. I guess let's just put it in Superman 78, because it's like a different type of origin, and it's bringing a new aspect to the MCU, I guess. So, and Black Panther I really enjoyed. That was just a very quick transition. Black Panther I really enjoyed. I really liked the way that they built out the world. I really liked, you know, the story of the villain and everything like that. Everything was really solid. What I did not like was the final battle between T'Challa and Killmonger. I don't know why I almost forgot that. Because it looked like a CGI mess, first of all. That definitely took me out of it. And usually I am dumb when it comes to stuff like that, where bad CGI and stuff like that. I'm not the type of person that's like, oh, that looks terrible, ha ha ha. Because it doesn't usually take me out of it. I don't really care that much. It looks like a video game glitchy mess a little bit. But like the story and everything, really good. Yeah. So I do really like it. I think it is kind of iconic. And really the only problem I have with it is the end. Oh, do we do 78 or do we do Avengers Assemble? I think because it was such a worldwide phenomenon, we're going to put it in Avengers Assemble. Why not? Captain Marvel. When I first started the movie, I was not enjoying it. It was very strange to me, because she has amnesia. And I usually don't like plot points like that. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like this. And like the Kree the Kree Skrull thing, so far I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I know they're gonna do Secret Invasion and stuff like that, so I just hope that it is a little bit better. I did like some of it. I liked the whole thing where she finds out that like the Kree are the bad guys. I thought that reveal and everything was done really well. It's not one of my favorites. I think I'm gonna put But I am interested to see Carol moving forward and everything. That is something that interests me. So I think I'm going to put it in, it's me, I'm here, deal with it. Am I missing anything? We just have Infinity War and Endgame. Yeah. Both of those are going in Avengers Assemble, obviously. Just done so well. And I'll watch them back to back on a random day, whenever. Infinity War is just so good. What can I say that hasn't already been said about those, you know? This is the... Oh, I have to do the shows. Let's do the shows real quick. So, Wanda Vision. I'm going to put Wanda Vision in Superman 78. I did really enjoy it. I did not like the last episode because I was like, oh, yeah, this is a Marvel show that we're watching, so obviously it's going to be very Marvel-y at the end. I would just wish it would have worked out a little bit differently, the final. I did like Vision versus Vision. That was cool. That was really interesting. So I wish Witch against Witch, that would have been cool too, and it kind of was, but it was a little bit too much, in my opinion. But overall, really enjoy the show. But the reason why it's not going in Avengers Assemble is because of the last episode. It could have been iconic status, but it's lowered a little bit. I actually didn't have my X-Men first watch. I did a first watch of all the X-Men movies recently after I did my MCU rewatch. And so when I first watched WandaVision, I didn't appreciate who he was as a character, so I didn't really care at the time. That's not why that's not why it frustrated me. The reason why is because it ended up being a penis joke, which is, like I said before, the part of the MCU that I am not really a fan of is a joke just for the sake of a joke. I wish it would have been a little bit more interesting. It was like trolling the audience. I just think that could have been written a little bit better because the rest of the show was written pretty well. I wasn't hoping for the X-Men to come into the MCU that way. I didn't think that they were going to come into the MCU that way. I thought that that was ridiculous that people took it that far. I was just mad that it was a dumb joke when it could have been something a little bit more interesting. And then we have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I think I'm also somebody who's like rooting for that show. I know a lot of people do not like it, and I really do understand the complaints. I really do. But I think the story that the writer wanted to tell was told, and it was told very well. I wish Bucky's journey would have been shown a little bit more. I liked their dynamic, especially, you know, when they're back in Louisiana helping out with Bo and everything. Bucky's flirting with his sister. It's a very good dynamic. I really enjoy that as well. Obviously, the Flag Smashers had to be completely redone because of COVID and everything. And I also think the writer didn't want to write about the Flag Smashers either. I think it's one of those things where, like, okay, we need an antagonist, and so here's a generic antagonist. I feel like Carly was kind of interesting, though, and I think Carly, it makes sense that they did try to make her a little bit sympathetic because it's the same debate that people have where should protests do damage, or is that rioting, is that not right? It's kind of the same argument a little bit, except, you know, obviously the stakes are different. So I enjoyed that, I think, more than other people did, because I don't know if they were drawing that comparison necessarily. A lot of people were like, well, why does she have to be sympathetic? Like, why would they even insinuate that? And I'm saying, like, sometimes, and that's the argument with protesting, is like you have to get people's attention somehow. I feel like her character could have been written a little bit better, but I do appreciate some of the things that they were trying to do, and I understand the limitations that they have. If this was purely based on my personal enjoyment, I would put it in Superman 78. Because that's to the level that I enjoyed it all the way through. And the John Walker stuff is really good as well. The last episode, it was kind of weird that he was first allowed to be around. I mean, I guess there's a lot going on, so they're not gonna be like, hey, you, stop it. But his character is really interesting, and I'm very interested to see what they do moving forward with him. Because of some of the problems that it has, like, I do understand why people don't like it, and so that's why I'm going to put it, that's why I'm putting it in It's Me, I'm Here, and deal with it. So Loki, I'm going to put in Avengers Assemble, because I just really enjoyed it, and it was something really new and exciting and interesting, and I'm really excited to see what they do moving forward. I know people have complaints about it because I know some people don't like it, but I'm not remembering what their complaints are. Maybe the cliffhanger ending, like, really affected them. And I think also the fact that the last episode was a lot of exposition. I didn't mind that though, because it was something different. And it proved that you don't need an ending that's like a typical MCU ending, like Wanda Vision. And of course, Loki wasn't designed to be the ending like Wanda Vision was, because that's a limited series. Loki is going to have a season 2. So maybe that's why they thought that they could take the risk, but I hope that they understand for the future that you don't always have to do this big MCU type ending, that you can end things however you want to end them now. It brings something new to the MCU. And obviously because of like the timeline split or whatever, but I'm not even like thinking about it in those terms. I just mean in like storytelling and committing to an aesthetic, things like that. And I really like Sylvie, and yeah, Mobius is cool too. I just really enjoyed it, and I think it might be my favorite out of all of them, which is crazy because WandaVision was the one I was looking most forward to because I love Wanda and Vision. But yeah, I thought that was gonna be my favorite one, but I ended up liking Loki a lot more. Now for the movies that have came out since then, we have Black Widow and we have Shang Chi that I saw. Shang Chi is going in Avengers Assemble because in terms of origin, it didn't feel rehashed in terms of how to approach a origin story. The fight choreography was really good, to the point where me, like, I don't pay attention to stuff like that, where I was watching the movie and I was like, oh, the choreography is really good. So if a normie like me can see that, then I think you're doing a good job. And again, family dynamics. Maybe I'm just a sucker for family dynamics. I have no idea. I liked that, and I don't know if they're going to do it in the future, but I liked that Shang-Chi and Katie, what's her name? Katie? How they were just good friends. They didn't have to be like romantically involved and whatever. Maybe they will in the future. I wouldn't necessarily mind that. But I liked how they just love each other as friends. And it doesn't have to be anything else. And I mean, we've seen stuff like that before, because, oh, Ragnarok, I forgot. We'll talk about Ragnarok too. I can't believe I forgot that one. But in Ragnarok, Tessa Thompson's character Valkyrie and Thor, they're also like, there's like a flirty thing going on, but it's not like this is the new romantic interest that I have. And I liked that dynamic that they had in there as well. So yes, Shang-Chi is going in Avengers Assemble. Black Widow. I am also a Black Widow apologist. I know people have a lot of issues with Black Widow. I think Black Widow did get the short end of the stick for how it had to come out. Even the fact that it didn't come out when it should have, timeline-wise. Because watch it in the context of a rewatch and you will probably like it more. So for people that say that it doesn't really add anything to it, I kind of disagree. There were some weird things, like they really focused on that vest, which was kind of interesting. We didn't really need the background story for the vest, but I think people kind of force it when they talk about the stuff being prequel-y like that. Like, yes, that was definitely a prequel-ass moment, but I think it really showed the relationship that she has with her sister. And I think we will get closure about like, oh, well, did they get blipped? Or, you know, was she thinking about her family during the blip and all of that? I think we will get closure on that as we see Yelena move forward. I thought the smashing of the olfactory nerve was a little much. They tried to do something different. But the rest of this Taskmaster stuff, it's the Taskmaster, she's locked away in a jail-like area for most of the end of the movie. Yeah, I don't know. I'm an apologist, like I said. So, but I'm going to have to put it in It's Me, I'm Here, deal with it. Just because of some of the things that were more out of their control, and for some of the missteps that they had in the story and things like that. We have to talk about Ragnarok. I can't believe I missed Ragnarok. I don't know why. I am going to put Ragnarok in Avengers Assemble. For personal enjoyment, it's not one of my favorite MCU movies. I do enjoy it. When I look at the MCU for personal enjoyment, I really like a strong, dramatic story. And the humor for me, I'm not going to a Marvel movie necessarily for like the humor and stuff like that. I do enjoy those movies that are more humorous. But if you look at my personal list where I have my ranking of all of them in terms of purely personal enjoyment, a lot of the serious ones are at the top and the funnier ones are a little bit more towards the center. I didn't talk about any Spider-Man movies either. What is wrong with me? And I'm gonna put it in Avengers Assemble because it was like a reboot of just Thor in general, which is something that he desperately needed. It did its job in keeping Thor around, because I bet if Thor Ragnarok was not enjoyable and was a failure, maybe Thor would have also died in Endgame, or maybe he wouldn't be coming back, or maybe his next movie would be a passing of the torch. I think they're still going to keep him around because Chris Hemsworth wants to be around, so does Mark Ruffalo, so does Samuel L. Jackson. Like, some of the actors want to stay around, which is good because I do enjoy his character, and I really do hope he shows up with Guardians of the Galaxy, whether that's in his movie or in their movie or what, but I just want to see them together because I really liked that, how that was teased with Endgame. And I forgot the Spider-Man movies. What is wrong with me? So, Spider-Man Homecoming and Far From Home. Enjoy them both. Spider-Man is going to go in Superman 78, the first one. I really liked it. Vulture is great in it. I think, well, right now, so I'm doing a master reading order for all of Marvel Comics, so I read a lot of Silver Age stuff. And I am reading a lot of modern stuff too, but I read a lot of Silver Age. And so maybe Vulture does become more interesting in the comics and I'm just not aware. But reading the Silver Age stuff and how they turn these characters into something interesting, it's fun to watch. And so I think, yeah, Vulture was done really well in that movie. I love John Watts and I love whoever these writers are. Who are the writers for Spider-Man? I don't even know. But they write high school, they direct high school really well. Far From Home, I did enjoy it. I think, what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Jake Gyllenhaal did really well in it as well. I understand people's frustration with everything having to tie back to Tony Stark. Hopefully we see less of that moving forward. I also understand that people were upset that it was a European vacation because Spider-Man is like your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. He's supposed to be like in New York on the ground, or swinging through the air, I guess, not on the ground technically. But I still thought it was interesting. It was done really well. Like I said, they write the high school characters so well. Let's do It's Me, I'm Here, Deal With It. Because I think I would rewatch Homecoming before I would rewatch Far From Home. And then that is everything. I skipped a lot. Apparently my memory sucks. But here is the ranking that we have. For personal enjoyment, though, pretty much all of these are movies that I love. I guess I'm just a fanboy like that, I guess. But, and even when I did my rewatch recently and I had to watch these that I'm not super fond of, you know, I wasn't like dreading it or whatever. I was kind of dreading Iron Man 3. For some reason, I really have a hatred for Iron Man 3. I just don't like, we already heard my complaints. But yeah, I don't think any of these are bad movies. I've seen some bad movies in my time. But at the very least, they're enjoyable. They contribute to the universe. I would say this tier list that I just did is more of a definitive ranking, taking other things into account. But when it comes to personal enjoyment, I pretty much like all of it. Even through the criticisms that I have, they're not enough to make me say, like, this is horrible. But yeah, I just want to talk about whatever I want to talk about. That's what this channel is going to be, because you expect me to focus on one topic, it's just not going to happen. So if you're interested in any of the things that I talk about here, you can subscribe, you can like the video if you enjoyed. Let me know your rankings below. If you disagree with me, that's okay. You don't have to call me names. I don't have to call you names. We have different tastes, and that's okay. So let me know your rankings below if you disagree with me. Politely, please. I don't know what video I'm filming next, or I don't know. We're just gonna take this channel and see what happens to it. So I will see you next time. The perfectly legal streaming sites annoy me. I am too old for that shit. Please just put it on a streaming service so I can just watch it. I'm too old to pirate shit. I'm too old to watch these illegal streams or whatever. Just put it on a streaming service. You know? It sort of was, because obviously there was a bug that just flew in the camera.